What is up, Cabbage Crew? It is Matt and John here doing a quick, I would say quick review, but probably about an hour long review of Korra, Legends of Korra, Season 4, Balance. Correct? What's it called?
I think so. I mean, I don't pay attention anymore. It's Korra.
I think it's called Balance. Yeah, it's Balance. Yeah, so Legend of Korra, Season 4, Balance. John watched it for the first time in many years, so we will kind of do a play-by-play, give or take review. Like always, we don't talk about everything. We might go out of order a little bit, but we try to get all the main points of the season. So let's pretty much jump right into it. Episode 1 is very lack of Korra. It's kind of where the world has been the last 3 to 4 years at the time jump.
3 years.
And 3 years. And it introduces Korra, Kavira. I really like her as a villain, so I just want to kind of hear what you have to say about her.
Yeah, she's all right.
Jesus. Would elaborate?
No. She's all right. No. She's a good villain. I think she's my number 3, probably, throughout the whole series. But it's close between her, Amon, and Zahir. It is very close. Unalaq can just yeah. But
yeah.
No, Kavira, very strong-willed, very determined, powerful. There's a sense of like, do not cross her or you will reap what you sow. And it was a solid head nod. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yes, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I do like her as a villain.
Yeah, she definitely has the presence of a it kind of reminds me of like Azula in the Earth Kingdom.
I was going to say that
with the Dai Li, yeah.
I didn't want to make the wrong comparison, but
yeah, there's a little bit of that comparison, in my opinion, like that respect, but also fear, but also, she's doing the wrong, like she's going a little bit too far, but you kind of understand why. Not to compare it just because of metal, but kind of a Magneto-ish villain. So, I mean, you kind of understand where she's coming from. You understand how she got to the point she's at, even with the time jump. And you could probably see where it started, how it made sense for her to do, and like kind of where she's at now, how she got there. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely like a good like balance of where Korra's at, where it's like an unstable state of mind, where she's like a very confident state of mind. I mean, think like Kavira's end of season 2, Avatar: Last Airbender, Azula, and you can make the argument that Korra is end of season 3, Avatar: Last Airbender, Azula. Like just mentally not there, at least in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a nice foil, I guess you could say, to that character and where she's at now.
Right. I think that's a great comparison, and I would also, I mean, we're going to go into towards the end, but there's actually a decent amount of similarities between Korra and Kuvira in terms of their personalities and what makes them strive in life, that type of thing. But yeah, that's more towards the end though. But yeah, it's very interesting how like a lot of people in the Earth Kingdom call her the Great Uniter, right? Like, all hail the Great Uniter. and this is like a first real glimpse besides Chin the Conqueror, but like a first real glimpse of Earth Kingdom going bad. Like a first, like where they conquer territory, and like almost be like the Fire Nation, and just being deliberate and just
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, it probably isn't the only time, but yeah, it's the second time we've seen the Earth Kingdom become corrupt in the sense of like, not necessarily because she's not trying to take over the world. She's just trying to take over the Earth Kingdom and semi-unite the Earth Kingdom in a way, but it's more forced. I shared a really good thing on our new we made a new Facebook page.
Yes.
Simply because our Facebook page
Matt, you're muted.
I was on a Facebook page, and there was a lot of like not content that's advertised as Airbender, inappropriate content. So I decided to make my own, and a couple people jumped on it. It's called the Cabbage Crew, at Love the Cabbage Crew, and something I just posted today. I actually just made it today, but something that I posted on there was like the first thing I posted was it was the four villains of Avatar. Aman was equality through persecution.
Mm-hmm.
Unalaq was reconnection through destruction. Zahir was freedom through chaos. And Kavira was peace through submission. Right. And that's like the whole thing. It's like the end game of Kavira was peace. It was just like in the wrong way. It was like, it's like, you're going to be peaceful. And if not, I'm going to make you be peaceful. Kind of, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay. So she was an interesting villain in the sense of like halfway through the season, and they kind of did that with Zahir too. It's like halfway through the season, you're like, is she right? Like, does Korra even disagree with her at this point? You know, you got a sense that like when she left Toph, which we'll get to later, but like you got the sense that like they're having that conversation, and like Korra was like almost on her side for the majority of it. So we introduced Kavira. We get to see where the Airbenders are after all these years. I think that's what the episode was called, After All These Years. See what the Airbender was called, where they are. Opal and Janora and what? And what's the kid's name? He was like a thief. Kai. I liked Kai.
Yeah, I like Kai.
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember seeing their introduction for the first time in season 4, and I'm like, what kind of superhero show am I watching with a kid's superhero show where they're like flying squirrels? They were like,
it's cool.
It's cool, but it was like the outfit was like so bad. It looked like it was like some cheesy 6-year-old superhero.
Yeah, like it. I mean, the outfit looked a little odd, but like you can make an argument that's like not the prototype, but like, you know how like in superhero movies, in the first movie they have like kind of a cheap bad outfit, and then
that's what it was.
You know, like think of like Scarlet Witch. You know, like she started off with like a jean jacket. You know, like okay, and then like it got a little more, and then by the time we saw her as the Scarlet Witch, she was wearing the Scarlet Witch outfit, and you're like used to it by now, and it's like the progression of what that outfit became. Not saying we're gonna in the next Korra or next sequel series we're gonna see those outfits again in a different style, but like it was very early on that outfit. But it's a good idea. Like it's no glider. You don't need a glider anymore. It's just kind of a part of your suit. I think that's a really cool, interesting idea. It did look kind of weird, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the glider though. But.
Yeah, yeah, you do. I mean, there's the fact that, and they use the glider as a weapon too, like using the air, where you can't really use that as much. Um,
But
so it would be really
it's cool that the air nomad, just to like touch up on that, because
mhm,
they're their own, like they're like the UN. They keep the peace.
right.
The UN. We won't go what the UN actually is, but
Yeah, they
like
keep the
what the what the UN is supposed to be, um,
mhm.
and peacekeepers, and like I thought that was a pretty cool concept to add into season
Yeah.
4.
It's almost like the I forgot what Iroh's role was. Not Uncle Iroh, but Iroh. Um, I guess it would be Zuko's grandchild, maybe
Grandson,
his
yeah.
son. Um, he was like the head of the United Nations or whatever, right?
Yeah, head of like the
That's what it's called.
Public of Nations or something.
Yeah, so like that I guess is more of like war stuff where like the air nomads went around and like took out pirates and took out thieves and just made sure like small towns were taken care of.
Right. Korra
And
was
that's
still MIA.
that yeah, that was when Korra was still MIA. So so that was kind of a cool yeah, like you said, that was kind of a cool like vision and like cool idea for what those that nation could be for a little bit, which is kind of why Korra felt so like useless. Like there were times where she felt like she wasn't needed, and like that goes back to season 1 where she felt like she was, the best thing since sliced bread, and like catch it, and she just thought she was it. She was like, on the Avatar, I got to deal with it. And by the end of the series, she felt like she wasn't needed, and so it was more of like a psychological thing for her. Like imagine if Aang woke up from iceberg and they're like, "Hey, we haven't really missed you, man." Like you would feel like shit. Like, oh yeah, the war ended a year and a half ago. Like these guys got it. You're good. Like you can just go back to bed. And that's how like Korra felt. She felt like she was like letting maybe her name down, maybe the Avatar, the name of the Avatar down, especially after last season where like she found the origin of the Avatar, or the last 2 seasons ago. But like she just felt like she was maybe living down to the name.
Right.
So, so speaking of Korra, I mean, we'll just jump right into that Korra Alone episode, which is not based, the name is based off of Zuko Alone, which is one of my favorite episodes. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what do you think about that whole episode and her? I mean, not just that episode, but the whole emotional journey that Korra took.
Blasphemy on the name! Blasphemy!
Why?
Because it should have been Zuko Alone, and that's it. Have a different name. As soon as I saw the name, I was like, no, don't.
I like it. I like that they paid the homage to it.
They didn't pay homage. They just couldn't think of anything else. But
no, I mean, there was a lot of there was a lot of there was a lot of parallels to Zuko Alone.
Yeah,
or Zuko's journey, her cutting her hair, her for a majority of the episode pretending she was someone that she wasn't, and then by the end, kind of having some hope. So, Zuko's Alone was ended on a sour note or a bad note, or like you kind of felt more bad, like sorry for him. And hers was like more hopeful. But right. I'm like, you didn't like the name. I like the name. I like how they did that.
Well, I just like to have things separate from the OG. I don't like things too similar. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, fair enough.
No, it's not. But
what about? What about Korra's actual emotional journey? Not just in that episode, but really like the entire season. Like, how did you? Because I remember talking to you about. I think in season 2, maybe when we were reviewing it, I was like in season 4. It's a little bit more, maybe it was in season 3, maybe it was last time we reviewed, but I was like, this season's more of the emotional growth out of Korra, finding who she is as a person. Like, what do you think about that whole like journey?
I'll admit, as I was watching it, for me, it kind of got lost with the Kuvira stuff. Like a good chunk of it, not a majority, but like I would say like between 30 to half of that emotional journey, like for me, got lost within the Kavira stuff. I was more focused on the Kavira stuff than necessarily like Korra's emotional journey with that, with herself. But like obviously, I know what she was going through. Like she eventually meets up with Zahir and gets that settled with, and like we'll talk about that. But like it's not like I wasn't paying attention to it. It was just that there was more
other stuff going on.
More, yeah. Whereas the emotional journey, like, for me, it's like it would just be like her in the avatar state, and like her not finishing the job of like taking care of Kuvira when they fight first, when she takes over Zhaofu, and again we'll get to that, but there'll just be for me it was like random, not enough time slotted scenes to her emotional journey that it would just show her in the avatar state, or like a dream of Zahir beating her up, trying to take her life, and then she wakes up. I just don't think there's enough time slotted for me to gather the emotional journey.
Yeah, I think I can partially agree with that. Like they sped up a couple of things, but I don't think that was necessarily. I think it was more of the fault of that, and it's not the show's fault. It's not them's fault. It's just how it ended up being, which is like you now have so many different characters, and I feel like there's a lot of characters, so many different plot lines that, in my opinion, like I really cared about really two things: Kavira and the Beefongs, and Korra and Toph and her journey. And it was like you also had the which again we're going to get all into this, but Prince Wu and Mako didn't care. What's going on with Asami, and what's going on with Varric, and what's going on with Bolin and Opal, and what's going on with Tenzin and his family, which we barely saw, which again we'll talk about. What's going on with the love, I guess the relationship between Kavira and her husband. I forgot. I don't remember his name. Yeah, so it's like you had all these different threads getting pulled. Not to mention you still had stuff like the things to kind of continue on, like what's going on with Republic City and all the Vine stuff. What's going on with eventually talking to Zahir and dealing with the Avatar state and finding Rava and reconnecting with all of that and the actual spirit world. There's just so many things getting thrown at you, and then Asami eventually seeing her father, and it's like where you kind of, I wouldn't say, I personally don't think that the Toph / Korra, those couple episodes didn't get lost in anything. It was just there's so many other things going on.
Right. It
was just like I would have much rather gotten like a nice one episode of them two by themselves.
Yeah.
And
this season, and just like branching off just a little bit, this season reminded me, it was a combination of episode 5 and episode 6 of Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It was like a mix of those two movies. And especially when Toph is in the swamp, that's like Yoda what system is that? Dagobah. The Dagobah system. And Empire Strikes Back, and then the end of the season, it's kind of like a mix of episode 4 and 6, but like more episode 6, I guess, with the destroying the inside of the machine.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, they pay a lot of homages to Star Wars, and yeah. I mean, Avatar altogether does.
The canon itself looked like a battle droid, like Count Dooku's battle droid. And then
Avatar has always paid homages to. Avatar has always paid homages to Star Wars a lot, from like Zuko and his father and that whole relationship with Mark Hamill. Well, just Dante Bosco has talked about how like he was in a booth with Mark Hamill being like, "Father, no," you know what I mean? So, and it's like he's like it's wild. It was like the first, and so it's like there's just that kind of sense of like you have these magical creatures in this magical world, and you have this father-son relationship, and and even the very Empire Strikes Back at the end of the season 2, making the comparison with the swamp and Toph, so there's always been a lot of, I would say, comparisons, paying homages, whatever you want to say, to Star Wars, which, Marvel did the same thing. I mean, I think a lot of these like 2000s, like this generation pays homage to a lot of different of these fantasy franchises, not just Star Wars.
Right. I also loved, and it actually like touched my heart a little bit when Toph showed up in the swamp, because that's where Aang saw her in the vision in the original cartoon, and I was just like, I just like clapped like that as soon as I saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes full circle, and there's also that line in Avatar: The Last Airbender where Toph's talking to Aang, and it's like, do you really think something? I'm paraphrasing, but do you really think that friendships can transcend through can
last more than one lifetime?
Can last more than one lifetime, and then it's Toph and her and Korra now being friends. So that's a lot of full circle moments, I guess, in the season, or at least in that like episode.
Right. Well, that's when Toph's training Korra. Was that like episode 4?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that was like
3 or 4.
Yoda teaching Luke in episode 5, which is pretty cool. Like seeing that similarity.
What did you think of Toph?
I think they found the perfect voice actress for her. I thought they couldn't have done a better job.
Yeah, they did a good job with her.
I was watching it and I was like, she sounds so familiar. This is a side tangent. I was like, she sounds so familiar. And then like I'm trying to study the voice, and I'm like, she actually sounds a little bit like Hama. And so I like
you think everyone sounds like Hama?
No, I don't. But I was like, because she was saying some things, I'm like, okay, I would put like 70% likely that it's the voice actress. Clearly, two different people.
Yeah.
But I did find out the voice actress for Hama, Tress McNeil. She's also Avatar Yang Chen in the series.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But anyway, I thought they were different, or I thought they were the same, but they're actually different. But found some new too. So
yeah, she had a good presence, and like I mean, it's hard. It's for me. It's always been like very tough to be like that's what Toph would be like when she's older. Like the thing that always annoys me is when people one of my pet peeves. No, it's one thing that always does annoy me that I've seen like in a lot of like Facebook chats and these pages and just people in general, when they're like, Toph wouldn't be a cop. Like she was so rebellious. Like she would not be a police officer. I'm like, dude, imagine picking a 9-month span when you were 11 years old and thinking that's your personality trait for the rest of your life. Like, let's be real, and she was rebellious because of what happened with her parents. Like as she gets older, she's not going to be rebellious anymore because she had those freedoms. It's like not being able to go out and have fun and hang out with friends in your entire teens when you're probably going to college. You're going to be a partier. Doesn't mean you're going to be a partier for the rest of your life. It just means you're going to be a partier for maybe your freshman, sophomore year because you were never able to go out in high school and go out and see friends and go to parties. So, it's like that's kind of what Toph was for that 10-month stretch or not even like 5-month stretch where she was like, wasn't even allowed outside of her house. And then she started traveling the world. She's like, how dare you tell me I have to, clean up after myself or put me in an area about, and hold me to standards. She just wanted to do whatever she wanted. So
Sure.
it is interesting to see that she kind of went back to what she was when, maybe not go back, but she very much was like hermit by herself, wanted to be left alone, was kind of stingy. So that's just interesting to see.
Another Star Wars comparison.
Okay.
She was like Obi-Wan Kenobi in episode 4, watching over Luke, except she's watching over Zhao.
She was watching over everything. I mean, she said she could see everything. Yeah, she saw her family. She saw Lynn in Republic City.
Yeah,
good comparison too. Yeah,
the best Toph quote, one of the best ones off the top of my head in this season was the "You give metal benders a bad name."
Yeah, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I threw some rocks at the Avatar. He whined a little bit, and Sokka fell in a hole. That was also pretty funny. No, that actress did a good job. They portrayed they portrayed all of them. I mean, they portrayed Zuko well. They portrayed, but I feel like they specifically portrayed her well because, like, we got a lot of episodes with Toph. Like, Toph was probably out of the big 3, really, including Aang too. Like, out of the main team Avatar, we definitely got Toph the most after all 4 seasons is done. You would think it'd be Aang. You'd be like, oh yeah, she talks to Aang in the past lives multiple times, and you get sprinkles of Katara, and then Zuko has semi of a presence for a couple episodes in season 3, but you very much like Toph is in episode 2, big in episode 3 and 4. I think she's in episode 5. She comes back in like episode 7 or 8. You know, like she's in it for like the majority of the season.
Right.
She has a huge presence. So, speaking of new characters, we get introduced to Prince Wu, who is a whole character.
Wu
Prince,
or who?
Prince Wu, who, yeah, he's a whole character.
Prince Wu?
He kind of reminds me of you.
I actually agree.
No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't remind me of you.
No, it's true. I'm Prince Wu.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind his character. This is the thing. I didn't mind his character, and I understand why they put him in there, but he just didn't fit with the rest of the show.
It didn't.
You know, and by the end, it's like, you know what? He's not, again, it's like, he's not a bad character. They made him likable. You know, he wasn't a bad person. Or I would have hated if they made him like an asshole or like a bad guy. And it's like, of course. They more just made him an arrogant prick that like had everything handed to him his whole life, and he was like a Kardashian or something, you know. And by the end, he was humbled and he actually made some smart decisions. You're like, okay, growth, awesome. But like, so like, I didn't care I didn't mind all of that, but it's just, like I said before, when you have so many other things, every time I went back to him and Mako, it was like, let's get through this little thing right here, you know.
Especially having,
again, I understand why they did it. The whole point of him doing that was because it made Kavira's point even stronger. You know, it's like, do you want this guy running the show, or do you want me, who's taking action, doing things, running the show? So it made her like, and it made like even like Korra and everyone be like, that makes sense. Like, do we really want a king that doesn't know what the heck he's doing over here? So I just, he felt out of place.
Right. And I definitely thought having Mako like be in the same room as him and taking a piss was so weird. He's like, no, I don't, my royal parts are showing.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it's so gross.
He kind of reminded me, I'm trying to think of what he reminded me of in Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like, not necessarily a character, but like the feeling of the character. Like, he almost reminded me a little bit. Not really, but it kind of reminded me in season 2 of the 2 Earthbenders chasing down Toph. those two Earth. But it was like, we know we can't really take you serious. And every time it shows you guys, I kind of don't really care about you guys. Like, let's get back to the real story. But obviously they have very large importance of why they were there and what they were for. Because eventually that would be the reason why Toph learns metal bending to get out of their trap.
Master Yu and Shinfu.
Yes. So, but it's not even that, because they fit in the story. It's hard to really to get an idea of what he reminds me of, but he was one of the weakest parts of the series.
Yeah.
And again, I don't blame. It's tough because I don't blame the character. I understand why you blame you just don't like the character.
It was like he got slightly better with time. That was the best description I could say about him, because
because
I
would have almost
at the end, but.
Yeah, there's a growth. I would have almost rather see. It's just, I almost feel like, because Mako's very like at this point, Mako's like the least, not only the least favorite, but like least popular, least used. Like, he was very much just a love interest season 1 and 2, and we said this before in season 3. It's almost like they didn't know what to do with Mako, and in season 4 they very much did not know what to do with Mako, and they put him together with this new character that no one liked. Where Bolin at least was put together with Varric throughout his season 2, 3, and 4. When you think of Varric, you think of Asami and Bolin. They're like a little trio, I guess, with Julie too. And it works, and it makes their characters more fun, and it makes it makes like they have fun times, even when they're out of place or the story is not great. It's still like a fun time going back to those characters. Where when it goes to Mako, it's like dull character. No one really likes Mako that much. Like, he goes from being like this suave, like, ladies' man in season 1 to like, he kind of reminds me of Steve Harrington in Stranger Things.
Yeah,
like, he's the bad boy love interest, and then by like season 2 and 3, you're like, no, he's actually a good guy, and he kind of like gets his like butt kicked all the time. He's just less likable. He's just less likable. So when you have Mako and Wu together in a story that you don't care about, you're like, okay. Or not a story, but like a plot line you don't care about. Like, it's just a waste. They're like, it was very much like a waste. Well, let's talk about the kids. We talked about them for a minute. Jinora, Milo, and Iki. We kind of skipped around, but they were looking for Korra. They eventually found Korra. Milo obviously gets an upgrade because it's 3 years later. Jinora has her arrows. Iki always kind of gets lost in the mix. Does. Like, she's a fun little character. Yeah. She was like, yeah, she gets captured, and then like the whole time she's like, okay, she goes free, and she like looks at the map, like kind of like Aang used to do that. So like, I mean, she's a fun little character. I think in season 1, she was the one that was like, oh, Korra has a crush on Mako, right. Like, but she's always like there, being like, Grandma, can you tell us more about Zuko's mom or whatever? Like. Oh, no. That was Jinora. And then Iki was like, why are you so old or something? But I don't know. She's always just like this one-liner character that pops in and pops out. There isn't really like, out of that family, there's not a lot of Iki stuff.
I kind of found it weird, like, when Tenzin was like, okay, 3 of you go alone without any adult supervision to save Korra. I was like, they're a little too young for that type of thing. Like,
well... All right, so the argument is this. This is the argument, because I remember I used to think that too.
The argument, I'm assuming the argument is, and Katara and Sokka all traveling alone too.
Well, no, so I that wasn't going to be my argument, because in my opinion that was a different situation. Like they were forced to do that. In my opinion, once you make Jinora a master airbender, the whole you're just a child's off. You're now running the Airbender Nation. You are now in charge. Like, you're a child, yes, but you are you are master. You're an airbending master. So,
Okay.
you know, that's the way I look at it. It's like you have to do everything that I would normally do. You're my equal, you know? So if I can't go, it has to be you. Like you're, you know, so that's the way I looked at it. And it's like, you gotta take care of your kid. You gotta take now Iki and Milo going, and Milo's like 9, you know, like or something. You know, so like them going, you know, I guess it makes sense. Huh?
And still farting his pants away.
Yeah. So I never liked that. I was never a fan of the fart bending thing. I couldn't. I just think that's a little weird. But oh yeah, I get it. It's a fun little thing, but it's like a little goofy, a little too goofy.
You played Super Smash Brothers, right?
Yeah.
Wario does the fart.
Yeah, but yes, but no. Yeah, it would have made more sense for Gennaro to go alone. I think it would have been made more sense if Gennaro wanted to go alone and Milo and Iki were like, no, we want to go. And he's like, no, you guys cannot go. Like, she's a master. You guys need to stay here, blah, blah, blah. And then somehow, some way that like snuck away. Mm-hmm. Or they somehow like, you know, Gennaro's on, not Appa, but on a bison and they like snuck onto the bison without her knowing, you know, and then they're like, okay, all right, I guess you guys are coming with me. You know, like kind of them wanting to accept the responsibility. But then you have this whole, like, you would have had this whole Tenzin freaking out where they go and stuff like that. So it is what it is. It's one of those things where, I mean, maybe you're right. It's like, look, in this world, kids are doing stuff. I mean, Opal and Kai are the same age as Gennaro, and they're out going against rebels and, you know, risking their lives. Give or take. Maybe a little older.
I was going to say, I thought Opal was like at least 2 years older.
Yeah, I mean, Opal's maybe like a year. Like, let's say Bolin and Mako are Korra's age.
Yeah.
So 21 at this point. She might be like 19. And then Gennora's probably like 16. So yeah, maybe you're right.
I thought Gennaro was like 13.
I don't think she was only 10.
It doesn't really matter. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no. I mean, no, it all matters. No, it's interesting to think because okay, well, how old was Kai? Kai was Gennora's age, so they're probably like 15.
I thought he was
so Opal, yeah, okay. So Opal's a little older. Opal's like 19, 20.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, look, something about us breaking down Nickelodeon relationships. Top 10 Nickelodeon relationships, not including After Last Airbender.
Oh, that's a good episode right there.
Helga and Arnold sneak into the top 10.
I think I can stick in the top 10. What about Zoe and Chase from Zoe 101?
Give me animated stuff.
You do animated?
Okay. Well, it doesn't have to just be animated because there's Josh and his girlfriend. I forgot her name.
It's like a Megan. That's not Megan. It's
not Megan. Megan.
No, it's I think it starts with an M though. Or
Melanie. I have no idea. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you.
Animated. SpongeBob and Sandy.
Danny Phantom and Sam. I think her name is Sam.
Sam, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Trixie. Was it Trixie?
Trixie Tang and Timmy Turner.
Yeah, and then the girl he was in love with. I forgot the other girl's name.
Tootie?
No, Trixie was who he was in love with, and Tootie,
Tootie was the Tootie girl. Liked him.
Yeah, okay.
He didn't really like her.
Those are some good ones.
There's good ones.
I'm sure there's a lot more. Korra and Mako?
No. Aang and Katara? What?
Well, I was about to say, that brings up an interesting point of, like, animated Nickelodeon shows. Like, is Aang and Katara the best relationship?
I would argue, actually, animated, I'd argue yes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of other ones. I mean, cat and dog?
There's nothing there. And you can double date at the same time.
I mean, this isn't Nickelodeon, but Teen Titans, who had Robin and
Yeah.
Starfire.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think Nickelodeon stayed away from the relationship stuff a little bit more when it came to
Yes.
like animated stuff.
Yeah.
They seemed to stay away from it. Anyway, so you have Toph and Korra are kind of together doing their own thing, training.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thoughts about the metal bending? Her finding out there's still metal in her, getting the metal out of her. Another good line when she was like, "Oh, I thought Sue got all the metal out," and she was like, my kids never really picked up metal bending all that great, if you ask me." That was pretty funny.
It was funny.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I mean, what did you think about that whole
I thought
like?
that, yeah, I thought that was an important growth moment for Korra. I mean, I did think at that moment that once all that metal was out of her, I thought that was the solution. We end up learning that it's much more than that, but I liked it because it was a growth moment in the sense that like Korra was just giving up on doing it herself. But then like Toph was like, "Yeah, you're right. You can never do this, you weakling," or whatever she said, and she like straight she powered through, and
yeah, I think that seeing the Airbender kids gave her some hope, like because it's been 3 years since she's seen everyone, so seeing them like kind of gave her a spark. I will say I agree with you. In the moment, I thought it was resolved, and it's a good like I don't know. I might say red herring, but like it's a good like switch up where like they make you think that she solved it, and I was always like, really, that's it? Like she just had more metal in her. It's kind of lame, and now she's good. But it was deeper than that. It was way more. It was more about post-traumatic stress disorder and stuff like that. There was nothing physical holding her back. It was all mental, and so she was like, "Oh, I got the metal out. I'm good now." Thinking that it was like something physically was holding her down, but realistically, It was something more than that. It was herself holding her down. So yeah, she goes to Zhaofu and takes on Kavira. Has that quick conversation with and at this point, like Sue's been captured, and like Kavira kind of shows good leadership in the sense of like I do like how she's like, I'm not going to put any of you guys in danger. I'll take on the Avatar 1-on-1. Like I would never make you guys have to fight the Avatar for my battle, which was like kind of cool. Like it's like it shows that like she has that like leadership quality, So she takes on 1-on-1 and she's beating her. And then Korra goes into the Avatar state, kicks her butt for about a minute. And then you see when she turns, you see that it's revealed that it's like Korra seeing her Avatar state self, and she kind of freaks out again. I like at the end where when she does that, when Jinora is like, "What's wrong with her?" I just like, because it's like everyone's just like, what is going on with this girl? And she's even like, "Man, what is wrong? Like, we thought we fixed her." Great fight sequence too. Like a really good fight sequence.
It was top notch.
It just shows how powerful Kavira was, because Kavira had a bunch of those metal bands around her, like her suit essentially could come apart, and she'd be like, it kind of reminds me of like the Mark 47, I think, Iron Man suit, where he could like throw it and put it around people and stuff like that. And like she was like, I mean, using that metal bending style with like shooting metal, essentially metal strips at people, not to kill them, but like to essentially like wrap it around them and throw them all over the place and do whatever she wants with them, or like put it around their eyes and they can't move it. Like that was some good stuff.
I didn't like that whole fight sequence was awesome. I appreciated it a lot, and though Korra was going to win that fight if she would have followed through with the Avatar State stuff, I think, because Kuvira was already like on the ground, like defeated, and then she was in the Avatar State, and then she just can't follow through with it because from the PTSD, but like that doesn't disregard that Kuvira is not a good earthbender. I'm just saying that the fight would have turned the other way if it would, if the Avatar State went into full effect for Korra. And I mean that up until this point, I thought Kuvira was like, she's definitely overreaching her grasp and power, but like she hasn't done like anything like bad,
right?
Besides like the re-education camps, quote unquote.
Yeah, that was like, I kind of forgot about all that. That was like where you went from being like, I kind of agree with her to like, and it's like, why even do that? Like, if you're a Kuvira, you're like, what's the point?
The point is to convert them to be earthbenders and minded.
Yeah, I don't know, just that was extreme for Kuvira, but also like this show, I don't know, for the show to do that, it was just like, I just feel like they could have.
I don't know. I didn't think it was that extreme.
No,
because if you can talk about genocide in the original show.
No, I don't mean extreme in the sense of like the show going too out there. I'm talking like Kuvira as a character being like re-education camps. Like I would have almost rather it been like something else. Like they made her a little too Hitlerish.
Like work camps, like coal mining or something.
Yeah, that are like. It would have been nice. It would have been interesting to see like having people working on the vines, like vine mining. Like, where do you think they got all that vine stuff from? Right? I don't know. It was just, I don't know. The camp thing was just weird. It was out of place for me. I don't know.
Fair.
So Julie, they Bolin and Mako, or Bolin and Kavir, Bolin and Varric, saying everyone's name, Bolin and Varric, and they had their little journey. And up to this point, to be honest, there's so many things going on. I will say that's the one thing I don't like about the season. There's just so much going on. For season 3, they were all together for the majority of it. So it's like, I don't even know what happened to Varric. I mean, they went into the camps, right? But Julie essentially betrays them. And she changes side to essentially have a long game. I don't think she was playing both sides. I think she very much was playing a long game and knew that like getting captured would be no help. So like might as well like try to beat Kavira from the inside, which is cool. Made her character.
She even admits that.
Yeah.
Long game. And like, I mean, before we talk about that though, like what's your take on Bolin even being with Kavira to begin with?
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. I'm cool with that.
You're cool.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, because again, like it shows that Kavira was coming from a good place at the beginning, and how good of an influencer she is. Like we know Bolin's a good person. He's obviously being manipulated and doesn't realize it. And again, at this point, like when we're just meeting Kavira, we're like, is she even that bad of a person? So it's like, even when she was making threats, she's like, that's all talk. Like, that's just politics. And he's like, oh, okay, I guess, and he was even, you could tell he was kind of like getting weary about it. I'm like, but, he believed what she was doing was right. And he believed that he thought he was doing a good cause. Like, even like him telling Opal, like, no, like, Kavira's good. Like, and then obviously he finds out that that's not true. And he's like, screw this. I'm getting away from this girl. So like, I was okay. I was fine with that. I was fine with that, with how they handled Bolin and Varric being on her side at first, and then them kind of being like, we gotta jump ship. I was good with that.
No, I don't disagree.
I guess you weren't. Oh, you do? Okay.
No, I actually don't disagree. It was actually just kind of funny with like Varric, like his manipulation towards Kavira's team when they started treating him like trash, and he's like, you know what? I'm the maker of this canon thing. I'm just gonna make it all go boom.
Yeah, it was funny when he was like, I put a 30-second timer on this. You gotta let us go. We put a 30-second timer, and they're like, get him. He's like, I have this button here, and it will blow it up. And they're like, if you have that button, why do you have a 30-second timer? He's like, well, I made the timer, and then I made the button. He's like, it just doesn't matter. Whatever he said, but it was just like such a Varric thing. He's like, oh, I made the timer, and then I realized that you guys can still capture me, so I made a timer, and then I made the button, and then I realized if I had the button, I didn't really need the timer, but it was already made. So,
yeah, Varric has grown a lot on me the past season or two.
Yeah, he's like I would say he's my top 3 favorite character of the series, in my opinion. Like, he's one of those characters that, obviously not like this, but kind of like Loki or something, that it's like a wild card. And I don't know how great he would be alone. And we have the Loki series. But I don't know if there was a Varric plot and it was just Varric alone by himself with Julie, or a Varric show. It would have been, I don't know. But Varric thrown into a plot line as this wild card where you're like, is he good? Is he bad? Who's he working with? He's probably doing this for himself, but we'll see. But he always ends up being a good guy anyway, kind of like a Jack Sparrow,
Yeah.
And it's like he's just this wild card. And he's good-hearted. He's always going to help the good guys, but there's always sometimes like a side mission type of thing, or something that he's trying to get out of it.
President Ryko is like, yeah, and that I haven't really trusted you since the last time you wanted to kidnap me, or you kidnapped me, and he's like, allegedly.
Yeah, the thing that I didn't know it was this season, but they were like, you blew up that tower, and he's like, I own that building. There's just so many. There's the one too, and I think this is season 2, or maybe it's season 3. I don't remember, but when he's in jail, and they're like, yeah, for one, he's like, I made this jail cell just in case I was in it. And he's like, Julie. And he's like, Julie's in prison with you? And then he's like, you could trust me. He's like, think about it. Everything I've ever done has always been to help you guys. And he's like, Asami, who helped you get back on the map? And she's like, you did. He's like, Korra, who warned you about your uncle? Well, you did. Bolin, who got you in the movers? You did. And then he's like, Bako, who got you thrown in jail? And he's like, you did. He's like, yeah, I guess that one wasn't good. Yeah, but Varric's always a great character, man.
Yeah,
I always love characters like that, and Avatar really didn't have that type of character, but that they didn't need it. I mean, you can make an argument Zuko was that kind of character, where sometimes he was this anti-hero that sometimes would help the group out, during the Chase episode, the Spirit episode. He was a wild card. You're like, no. I'm talking the wild card that's sometimes thrown in the mix of the plot, and they do something. You're like, I don't know where they're gonna. We'll see what happens, and that's what I'm saying. There was a couple episodes where Zuko had the same enemy, you could say, as the heroes, so semi teamed up with them. There was a couple times. So yeah, okay, well, so let's talk about, I guess, Korra they get away, and they have the spirit vine stuff going on. And again, I might be a huge spirit vine person. I think most people, it's just a weird thing. Essentially the spirit vine started attacking people, got Jinora. And this kind of comes back to I don't think Tenzin even thought that Korra had the ability. He was he didn't trust that she could do it. And that, for the first time, probably since episode 2 of the series, where it's I don't really know if you have the ability to do this. And then she visits Zahir.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love that interaction. Another thing I love about a lot of series is when I love when a bad guy of either a past season or past movie is now brought back in to now help because they are like, again, going back to Loki, but because they have like the same villain or the same, like, it's like enemy of my enemy. You know, it's like, hey, Thor is going to break out Loki because Loki wants this man, you know, this dark elf dead just as much as I do. You know, it's like the same kind of thing. It's like, they would have been too much to free him, but it was really cool that it's like, he hates exactly what she is and what she's become. So it makes sense.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily, it was too quick for me, like his like acceptance of it, because
What?
he just doesn't like her because it's Kuvira's not Zahir. Like the reason why she's taking over the Earth Kingdom is not Zahir's reason, and therefore that's why Zahir does not like her.
Well, no. Zahir hated leaders.
Correct.
So like,
and
he hated
her philosophy, Kuvira's philosophy.
Yeah, he was like, I don't like queens. I don't like people. He's like,
Right.
I don't like dictator. Like, dictators are literally the thing that he hates the most.
Yep.
And so he was like, look, if it's between you beating her and her taking over, like, I'd rather have you beat her, I guess. So I'll help you.
Right.
You know? I don't really like how they got into the spirit. I don't really like how I like it, but again, it went a little too fast for me. Him being like, you know, just play it, let it play out, you know. And it's like, you know, and she's in the spirit world. It's like, okay, I guess. You know, accept what happened to you. Like, I get all that, but like, I wish they did it a little differently. I was almost ready for like a Guru episode where it's like an episode with these two characters together for like a whole 30 minutes, and you're looking at all, I mean, there's 4 episodes left in the series, and it's like we were looking at all of her past mistakes. You can look at all these different things that she's done and accept who she is by the end of the episode. But instead, they made it like a 4 minutes, you know, 3-minute sequence, or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
I got that scene got me goosebumps a little bit. It reminded me of like a Silence of the Lambs, where Agent Starling has to go to Hannibal Lecter, who's a serial killer, to help catch another serial killer.
It
reminded me of that.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's like again, I love those interactions of like going to villains to be like, I need your help. I need your help. It's funny because so I would.
Have you seen Silence of the Lambs?
I've seen it a long time ago.
Okay.
So it's funny because me and some friends were developing a comic a long time ago. We actually had put out a couple comics. And one of the things is that we did was that the villain of season 1 was connected, what used to work for the villain of season 2, and kind of went astray. So they had to go visit him in jail to essentially be like, how do we defeat this guy?
Right.
And that's kind of the same thing.
Yes, I mean,
in a sense of what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. I'm just trying to think of because my initial thought was the end of season 3 of Avatar, where Zuko visits his father and he wants to find his mother. That's similar in a sense.
The thing it reminds me the most of is, again, Thor and Loki, where he goes and rescues Loki from jail, and he's like, you hate someone just as much as me to get revenge.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're probably going to betray me, but I need your help on this. You know, it is what it is. I think they do the same thing with Negan, don't they, in Walking Dead? They need Negan's help.
Negan. Yeah, kind of.
In a sense. I forgot why. It's been a long time since I read the comics or watched the show. I haven't watched the show in a long time. Yeah, so they rescue Jinora. And
it takes like 3 seconds.
It takes about 8 seconds.
Well, no, I'm thinking Icky with the 2 Earthbenders and Milo and.
Oh yeah, it's way earlier. Yeah. So now it's Operation Beifong.
Yes.
which is like I would say the best part of the series.
It's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah.
Just the operation itself is pretty cool. Them rescuing them and trying to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sue going against Kavira was a great fight. It's kind of short, but it was a great fight.
It was short. It was
how she used the metal to go around her. It was good. It was a good sequence, but it was just a little too short. Yeah. And then Toph saves the day and says the line that you love. You know, you give Earthbenders a bad name, or Metalbenders a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean,
it was just fun seeing Toph like good Earthbend, like as an older, like as an older woman. It was just like
you can almost, and you can almost tell that like the like presence of her makes everyone kind of on edge, afraid on the other side. Like Kavira didn't even try to attack her. Like she showed up and she took down all the suits, and then she yells, "You get Metalbenders," and Kavira's just like. She's like, what am I gonna do? Like you know, like no one wants to fuck with her. You know, like it's like last thing I'm gonna do is attack this lady, and she shows me up. So it's just like, it's like it's one of those characters that it's just like it's so good, and like the idea of her is almost like afraid. Like you're like afraid of the idea to go against her. It's almost like going back to Star Wars reference. You know, I'm sure like a lot of those like Mandalorian when Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of season 1, or season 2. It's like, the villains are like, oh shit, here we go. It's like kind of that same feel where it's like she's powerful. Like we are like, there's different tiers, and it's like Zahir's a little bit more better than Sue, it looks like, who might be a little better than Lynn, and then it's just like, but when Toph shows up, it's like, you're nothing compared to her. Right. Like you guys aren't even on the same level as Toph. So
one thing that I wish they added, because they didn't answer. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I missed it. But I wish they would have not answered's the wrong word, but I mean, I guess I'll use it for the sake of keep talking about it. But I wish they answered the whole like a reconciliation between Toph and Lynn, because they had that like big family thing behind in the campfire, and like Lynn was like, I don't want to reconcile. Like they had that big fight, and they never really, they never really reconciled.
Yeah, I mean, kind of. I mean, at the end, she's like, "Yeah, I'm." There was that kind of that scene where she's like paraphrasing, but something along the lines of like, "Yeah, I might not have been best mother, but somehow I ended up with 2 great kids," and they all kind of hugged it out, and it's like, I feel like enough, and like sometimes it doesn't always need to be talked out. Like it's like, hey, this happened 30 years ago. We're different now. Let's just move on.
But Lynn didn't move on. That was the problem.
No, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
Sue
by the
did.
end.
Sue did, but not Lynn.
No, they both did. They both did. They all hugged it out.
Are you sure? That's all
yes,
took?
she
literally was a hug session?
Well, no, but they went on a mission together, and then, they said something along the line. I think they had that fire. Maybe it wasn't fire, but she essentially was like, I screwed up a lot as a kid, or as a parent, but somehow I ended up with 2 good kids. And
yeah, I know that. I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
It seemed like there was more there. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I can get that. All right, well, let's talk about. Oh, real quick, let's talk about the bomb. The bomb, essentially.
Bomb.
Not the bomb. What they call it, laser beam.
The cannon.
The cannon, spirit cannon. Is that what they call it? The cannon. What did you think about how they used all of that? The vines.
It didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me.
Oh, you didn't think it made sense?
Yeah, like I understand that it's the fuel, like it
Mhm.
charges the can. Like I get that, but I just didn't. I don't know. The this canon was much more. It was different than I expected it was going to be. Like I was not expecting a half Star Wars Count Dooku droid mixed with a AT-AT from Empire Strikes Back. That big
Yeah,
gigantor machine.
yeah.
I was not expecting a mix.
Mixed with like Godzilla's like nuke breath.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing is, I keep going back to the spirit world in the sense of like, I just feel like the Legend of Korra's spirit world was just completely different than what the spirit world was in Avatar: Last Airbender. Like to the point where like, I can understand that it can now go into the physical world and stuff like that, but it's like, I never thought that you could just put something, you could make something into the spirit world into a weapon, a physical weapon.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you can, but like,
when Korra was trying to get the spirits to help, like defend Republic City,
mm-hmm.
and when the spirits were showing up, I was like, oh look, there's Pokemon. Like
they all look weird. Yeah,
I was like,
it's like they look like Pokemon. They look like just weird creatures instead of like these mystical. I feel like every one of them was just black and white. It was just like this mythical like creature. Like again, when you look at like Heibai, he doesn't look like anything like that. They look like completely different shows. You have these, and it's like, I don't know. It's just such a different vibe. So
it rubs us the wrong way.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine like the face stealer getting out and just like getting into the physical world? like why not? Why couldn't he? Like just steal people's faces left and right.
Everybody would be faceless.
Yeah. So the mech thing. Well, I don't think I was a fan of the mech. I remember seeing that for the first time and not liking it, and just being like, I don't like it. It was cool how they took it down. Like it was kind of cool how they like tried to take it down multiple ways and it didn't work. But it just like I just didn't really like how it all happened. Now they do have a nice little redemption arc. Well, for one, Julie ends up being obviously a good guy, and her and Varric have like a moment where she wants to be treated equally, more as a partner and less of like an assistant. Which is a cool moment, but it's like, are you his assistant as in like this is your job? Like, were you like a slave of his? Like, are you getting paid to do this? You know what I mean? Like, so
Julie, I want to be your equal. Thing.
Yeah, like Julie, do the thing. It's like, no, I want to be your equal. And it's like, I pay you $75,000 a year to not be my equal. Like this whole time has she just been like his basically his bitch and like not getting paid or anything? Like what's the contractual structure of this relationship? Like how did he find Julie and how did she just become his assistant without getting paid for it? Like to the point where if he goes to jail, she's with him.
It's called the comics.
I know it's just hilarious. It's funny. It's funny, but it's something to think about. Where it's just like, wait a minute, like, but it's cool how they got engaged. Like that's cool. Like and eventually got married. Obviously,
Julie, will you do the thing?
The thing.
I thought that was so romantic and cute. I was slow clapping that too.
That was a good moment. The other redemption is Asami's father.
Hiroshi
yes, kind of coming back and showing he wants to be with his daughter and showing that he's like a kind of a better man now and trying to help as much as he can, which is nice, which was good because that's like a genuine. I feel like that's a genuine like arc, and also like it was done as good as it could have been when it came to like redeeming a character in like a decent way and being like, oh, okay, like he helped out and he sacrificed himself to make it so they could get into the mech machine. So
One of my favorite quotes in the entire season was his to Sami about like, "You were my greatest invention."
Yeah, they took that from Tony Stark, but whatever.
I actually mentioned, I was like, they say that from Iron, they say that in Iron Man 2, they say it in the Goonies, uh,
Did they?
but like, I still think it was a touching it's a trope, you know.
Yeah. No, I liked how they handled him and how like he genuinely wanted to like to fix things. And he was like, I was wrong. Like I was in a dark place in my life and I was straight up wrong. Cool. Well, he dies. They get into the machine. There's a
He just gets squashed by like a bug.
yeah, he straight up got squashed. Yeah.
I was like, damn.
But I will say, it got like chills. Like I got the goosebumps, chills, whatever. When he's he's almost done, he's almost in, and he's just like, Sami, I love you, and then ejects her, and she gets out of there, and then he keeps going, and then boom, he dies. Like that was good.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then so the team gets in. They're taking it down from the inside, just like they did the drill.
That's why. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then they get the rematch, Kavira versus Korra, which is a good fight sequence. It still shows though that like they're equal. Like she doesn't beat her. They're just equal, and they're like going against each other, and she's winning, and then Kavira kind of comes back a little bit. And I think that's like the point of this season isn't necessarily to show that like to beat Kavira wasn't necessarily to physically beat her. It was to like show that she was wrong, kind of going back to Amon a little bit, and to show that like Kavira's whole point was the Avatar has let us down. She's been gone for 3 years. I need to step up and almost be what the Avatar is. And Air Nation's kind of trying to do it, so she felt like she could unite the world, not only the Earth Kingdom, but kind of the world.
I mean, that's it's not just that, but those part
right. But I think that's like the message of what Kavira was. So when Korra was able to block that energy, and she saw, and she was like, no, she is this powerful. That's when she kind of stood down and was like, I can't beat the Avatar. And like, you know what I mean? And that's that was kind of, I feel like that's like the whole balance, like the series was all balance. And like, I feel like the whole point of that series was to be like, no, the Avatar is needed, and Korra is good enough to be the Avatar. And she is the one that's going to bring balance to the Force, balance to the world, though. And you have this other character coming in thinking she can do it, and she doesn't do it the right way, So it's like, I think that was kind of like a metaphor, maybe, of how they did that. So, you think Mako was going to die?
No, I actually did not, because they overplayed the conversation between him and Bolin too much.
Overall, man, what was your overall? Actually, two quick things. What was one? What was your overall? What was your overall like thoughts of the finale? And then also, I guess, give your rating of the season.
Sure. I thought the ending was. Are you talking about the very, very end, or are we talking about like
just like a finale, like the whole mech thing and the whole finale, basically?
I thought it was fine overall. I didn't like the last 3 minutes of the finale. I felt it
3 minutes.
Huh?
The last 3 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't like it. Last 3 minutes. Where like it's like, oh, let's go on a vacation. Come on, Asami. And it's like, no. That makes no sense. As like everything's rebuilding, the Avatar's gonna be gone again, and like they're just on a vacation with Asami. Like, yes, does she deserve one? Of course she deserves one, but she's a damn Avatar. You don't get a vacation. You need to rebuild the damn city. You gotta make sure everything's going right because of Kavira's power and her manipulation. They're still loyalists to Kavira. Are you kidding me?
Well, you have to remember there has to be a time jump, right? Because that's their wedding. So that's Varric's wedding. He's a rich man. You don't think he's gonna plan out that wedding like crazy? And they got married. They got engaged in the finale.
They
So
were they were talking.
that was probably 8 months later.
Yeah, but they're still talking about rebuilding. They're still talking about it.
Okay. I think that's when they talked about. I think that's when Wu was saying that he wants it to be a democracy.
Yes.
We're not going to talk too much about the controversial at the end.
Can we please?
We can. Yeah, you want to. I have no problem talking about it. I mean, so before we give our final score, what did you think about the ending with Kavira and Christ? I always think of Kavira and Korra. What did you think about the ending with Korra and Asami pretty much being in a relationship?
I don't think there was anything there. Like I know that like when people were saying way back when, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like pro LGBT, and I'm like, okay, let me see what you're seeing. Like,
Make that into a short.
And no, but like
LGBTQ.
No, but like I just remember like them saying like, "Oh my gosh, they're holding hands and there's a kiss at the end." And I'm like, "Oh, there's a kiss." Okay, and I'm like, "Okay, they're holding hands," and then they go through the portal. They don't kiss.
Well, but it's clearly leaning
No,
towards.
I don't buy that. I really don't.
Yeah, I buy it.
I don't. I like the only thing that I buy, the only like my opinion, evidence, anything related to that there could be potential for it is when Korra she only wrote to Asami. That's the only hint about that in my book.
Yeah, it was. I agree. I agree and disagree. So I disagree with you in the sense of they definitely made it a thing. Like it was clear that like.
How? Explain, please. I want to explain to me, please.
All right, so for one, I know that the creators said it was, but
That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't.
Yeah. Let's talk about the actual
No,
story
no,
itself.
no. Shut up.
No, it's not about the actual story.
No, shut up. No, because no. It's like J.K. Rowling saying, "Oh, Dumbledore's gay." No, like.
Well, no, but they eventually made him. They made him gay in the prequels, so eventually that did come.
But in the originality, that's probably not what it was. Like that's not like just because the author says it is, does not make it.
And then eventually retcon. Yeah. Okay. So I agree with you in the sense that there's no like actual. No, they don't kiss. I 100% get behind that. In the sense of like, if you're just watching it and you end the show, are you thinking that they're in a relationship? I agree with you. No, I don't. I think if that's what you're saying, then yeah, I agree with you.
Say that one more time.
So if what your argument is that I watched the show,
yeah,
take away everything the creators have said, take away the comics, take away everything, and I'm just watching the show, and the show ended with them holding hands and walking into the spirit world, I agree with you in the sense of I would not walk away from the show being like they're in a relationship now. Right. I can agree with that.
That's how that's yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't like the.
Well, tell me what you think though.
So I'm going to try to word this correctly. No, I'm going to word this correctly. I don't mind them being in a relationship in the sense of, cool, like that's fine. They're in a relationship.
Right.
What I don't like is like you were saying, how they set it up. Like there's nothing to support that. It's like at the end of the end of the whole thing, Mako just gets with the Jinora. You're like, what? like, you know what I mean? Like, did they have a nice little conversation for like 5 minutes? Like, sure, I guess, but like, like it was out of left field in the sense of like, I mean, it's just like if Sokka, everyone says Sokka and Toph got together, and it's like, where's your evidence that they ever had a thing together? Like Toph, sure, had a moment where she was like, oh, Sokka, but she also did that to Zuko. You know what I mean?
She also like had a blushing moment with Sokka whenever he went and
That's what I'm
that's
saying. So like maybe there was a little crush with him, but like
yeah.
she also grabbed Zuko by the arm multiple times, and so it's like
No, that was
the
more of a friendly thing, flirt
I think
thing.
it was a friendly thing with Sokka too. I don't think she liked Sokka that way, like that much
It
in
was
that way.
blushing. There was a blush.
Mm,
I don't, like there's it's called signs. Like you see sign like blushing is a
she's
sign that you
she's
like
she's blind.
someone.
She doesn't see.
But we knew.
I think that's more of a you're friends with somebody, and maybe one of your friends, it's a girl, is flirting with you because she's like a little tipsy, and you're like blushing, but you know it's not going to be anything. You're like, yeah, that's fun little flirting.
Right.
That's one of those. I'm drowning. Sokka, thanks for saving me. Mwah. And then she's like, I can drown now. That was fuck. Like that. I don't think Tofflo's like had this massive crush on Sokka. Anyway, going back to
Mm,
Asami, we can
yeah.
talk about
So
that later. But going
just to
back to
be
Asami,
clear,
it was out of left field.
yeah, I agree. Just to be clear, like I'm not against like that type of relationship happening. It's just the way that
Cancelled. Yes, I agree. Yeah, no, I
it's
agree.
the way that it happens, and
Hmm.
it doesn't make sense. And I
Yes.
don't think that it does.
No, I agree. I agree. It's not what it was. It was how it was. Like I don't think that they built it up correctly.
No, they did
So
not.
um, I will say
There were
that
aspects to it, but
yeah, and I will say that I do like that those two characters. I don't mind those two characters together because they are two good characters. And to be honest, when it came to the relationships of all the characters, like they kind of had the healthiest relationships when it came to like every relationship was kind of toxic in that little like four group. Um, so it was one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, finally Korra's like with someone that's not a toxic relationship. Um, so I mean it is what it is. Now where do you rank this show? Where do you give it out of 5?
the whole show,
The season.
the season.
I think the recap. I think you said season 1. Did you say was like I don't remember. What did you say season 1, 2, and 3 were?
One is probably about a 3 point,
I think you said 2, 5, or 5.
probably a 3.3.
And then season 2, you were like 1.75. Like it was
Season
low.
2, I was actually at like a 2.6 or
I think
something
that
like
was
that.
me. That was me. That said at 1.75. And
Yeah.
then season 3, you were high, or you were like 3. Weren't you like at like
No,
4 or something?
I said like a 4.25, I think.
Yeah. So where are you at season 4?
Season 4, I'm at a 3.
Right in the middle.
Yeah, so for my seasons, it goes 3, 1, 4, 2. Um, the
Okay.
twos, the 4 and 2 are close, but like 4 does edge it out.
Okay. I can pretty much agree with that. I think 4. I Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right on that. Now what do
Like part
you
of me wants to like rewatch season 3 like tomorrow.
Yeah. No, season 3 is great. So okay, so I remember when we first talked about Korra, you didn't even want Korra to be part of the podcast. Like you were like so anti-Korra. I remember at the beginning, I was like, everything Avatar. You're like, Avatar: Last Airbender is a show. That's it. I'm like, it'd be like at the end of the episode, I'd be like, well, in the comics and Korra, and you're like, no, just Avatar: Last Airbender. I'd be like, bye guys. So what is your thoughts now of Korra? You watched Korra, and we'll get to the comics, but you watched Korra. What are your
I
overall
watched Korra.
thoughts of the 4 seasons of Korra?
I think it still should not be part of it. No, but no. Hey, look, now we can talk about it. So
Okay.
like, no, like it's part of it. It is part of it. I mean, I gave you my rankings, and so if you add them all up, I'm sure it comes to be like a 3.25 average, roughly.
Mhm.
Um, maybe like a 3.5. Maybe yeah, 3.25, whatever it is.
Yeah.
it's good enough to talk about. It and it's part of discussion and lore.
Mhm.
And so yeah, like I don't mind talking about it. You might need to like remind me because like this is only my second rewatch, but like
I mean, you
you know,
watched it recently, more recent than me, so
no. But what I'm
yeah,
saying is when you bring stuff up, I might be like, huh, I don't
yeah.
remember that, and then
Just did a
like,
calculation. It is 3.3 is what your
oh,
average
hello,
is. Yeah.
oh, there you go. So, yeah, so that's where I fall.
I think I brought it up before you even watched it. I was For me, Korra is like my relationship of Korra has evolved over the years, but I feel as though Korra is like a mixed bag of great ideas and concepts that did not get as much attention as they could have gotten due to studio interference. We've talked about this before with the studio essentially giving him one season, greenlighting a season, not thinking that the popularity of a female would actually like audiences would not watch Korra because she's a female lead. It ended up doing better than they thought, so they did season two. That did better than they thought, so they gave it two more seasons. So they actually season two kind of goes into season three a little, or season three goes into season four a little bit, very
Mhm.
much. Um, so it's a mixed bag of good ideas. Some concepts fall flat. Some characters fall flat. There's some great characters, great moments. So it's like it's such a mixed bag of things. But I would say that like each season does have like good villains, good concepts, good characters. Every season kind of introduces new good characters. And I would even make an argument of this: if season two did not exist, so no losing no love triangle at the in season two. No losing the connection of avatars. The only thing maybe you got in season two, maybe you got this at the finale of season one when she gets a reconnection of her past lives and
Mhm.
stuff, and she gets all the bending back. Like, cool, the lion turtle stuff you can maybe learn then. I don't know, but if you just took away season two, if there was three seasons of season one, three, and four, but you got the information from the lion turtle episodes, we'd all be. I think most people would be like, "That's a great show." I think season two just really hurt it. I mean, even you would be, I mean, you'd be like, oh yeah, worst season's a 3.25, 3.25,
Exactly.
3 to 4.5. Like season two just really hurts it.
Sure.
But
I don't disagree with that. Yeah,
um,
because I remember on my first rewatch, my first watch of season one, thinking that like Amon is a great villain,
mhm,
and then that's what made
yeah,
me continue watching two,
it's a
three, and
great
four.
villain. It's a great villain, in my opinion. It's a great villain until you start finding out more about him. It's like the Mandalorian,
Hmm,
or not the Mandalorian, but the Boba Fett. It's like great villain until you get too much information.
I see.
That's how I felt like Amon. Like once you got all the backstory stuff, you're like, okay, I guess. Um, I was thinking about this before, right before the podcast. Actually, it's interesting how I like this. The solution of every villain brings up the next villain. So the solution of the Fire Lord was take away his bending. The next villain
Hmm.
took people's bending away. The solution of how to beat that villain, how to beat Amon, was this might be a little bit of a stretch, but the way to beat him was to essentially when they beat him, I won't say how they because they didn't really beat him, but when they beat him, they caused a little bit of eruption, which made the spirits upset. You can make an argument for, you know, and how to beat the spirits was defeat the Vatu, which opened the portals, which allowed airbending to happen, which made a villain have airbending.
Right.
By beating him, she became handicapped, which brought on another villain. It's like the next villain always leads into the next villain.
Hmm.
Like, so
Another like
interesting.
either a villain's chaos or the chaos that came about from
Mm.
their battles creates another villain.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's like the way to beat a villain opens up an opportunity to bring on another villain.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, so that's Korra. Those are the reviews of Korra. All 4 seasons. Give me a long time until we start reviewing shows again.
Oh yeah.
Probably until the Endgame movie.
Potentially.
I might have to be honest, dude. I want to watch that with you. I think that when that
Like
movie comes out in like a year and a half. No, I think it does come out early
2026 now.
2026, like early 2026. I think I might have to come to you for the weekend, and we watch it together in Pittsburgh, and then do a review, like a live review.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. But yeah, so Cabbage Crew, we want your thoughts. What is your favorite season of Legends of Korra?
If you've seen Korra,
No,
you
yeah.
just might be a good
You
friend of ours and just listen to us talk.
Yeah, you might just be here to listen to us talk about a show you've never seen before. And if so, just hearing what we have to say, watch all 4 reviews, and you can make your own decision of what one's the best season just by basing off of what we're saying.
And if you're new, please subscribe. The Cabbage Crew.
Yeah. What's your favorite season, and why is it not season 2?
That's the question of all questions right now.
Yeah, basically.
There's I'm gonna leave everyone with this quote.
Oh God.
Of a coworker in my office who
Jesus.
says this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're listening, if any of my coworkers are listening, you know who this is.
Oh gosh.
But he goes, "Help me help you." So therefore, help
That's
you.
just a quote people say all the time. Like my coworker says this quote. Yeah, he always says this.
It's the way he says it, because he's like, "Help me help you."
He always says this. Just work hard and good things will come.
That's a great quote.
Oh man.
Anyway, help me help you by subscribing to this podcast. Please.
Subscribe. We're almost there. We're inching along, guys. So definitely subscribe.
1 month and a half until the Anime Con in Rhode Island.
We're gonna get shirts.
Yes.
Yes, we will. All right. Peace.
Bye bye.